You can navigate through a workbook pretty fast with a lot of keystroke shortcuts and techniques. In this particular workbook, there are quite a few worksheets. One of the first things you might consider doing when you do see a workbook that perhaps you've never seen, or maybe this is one you haven't seen in a long time, in the lower left-hand corner, these so-called navigation arrows do have a purpose. I'm about to click the one right here that's third from the left. It's going to move the display slightly to the right to allow us to see more sheet names. Or click the one to the left. I wouldn't exactly call this a shortcut. It isn't really. A better idea to get oriented with a workbook is to right-click these arrows and then get a vertical list of the sheet names. The top-down order there corresponds with the left-to-right order that we see at the bottom of the screen. And many times you will be able to see more sheet names this way than you will across the bottom. Depends upon the sheet length. So not only can we see the names, but we can use them as a go-to sort of vehicle. I want to go to the mixed names sheet. There it is. Click it. Or maybe I've checked this out a little bit. I'll right-click here. I want to go to the projected budget 2011 here. Or right-click and so on. You can easily move around that way. Now you can also, in the display at the bottom of the screen, see more sheet names. Let me scroll so we can have some white space here. At some point, the sheet names end and the scroll bar begins. But do we really need a scroll bar that's that wide? If we put the mouse right at this juncture, we can click and drag and make the scroll bar substantially smaller. It is still functional. Now, depending upon the number of worksheets that we have here, you might not see them all, but you have a greater likelihood of seeing most of them in this kind of a display. Now, if I click the extreme left arrow over here, that's the very first sheet, and perhaps we're not seeing them all here, but we're seeing most of them, and that's pretty handy at times. On this right-clicking of the navigation arrows, do note that you might see more sheets. At most, we'll see 16 names here. So if you have more than 16, we won't see them all. We'll have to click more sheets, and then in this dialog box, go find the others. So it's not quite so efficient and smooth under those circumstances. When your hands are on the keyboard, if you want to switch worksheets, it's Control Page down to move one sheet to the right. Control Page up, and as you look at the sheet tabs at the bottom, you see what's happening here. I think this is most useful when you have a workbook where the order of the sheets is pretty obvious. For example, January, February, March. When you're on the March sheet, there's no doubt that April's the next one over. You'll press Control Page down without even looking. At other times, the mouse might be faster. And at some points, if you would like to go to the very last sheet, if you simply hold down Control and Page down together, within a second or two, you'll be viewing the last sheet. Or trying to go to the first sheet, hold down Control and Page up, and within a second or two, depending on the number of sheets, you'll be viewing the first sheet. And what if you need to add a new worksheet to this workbook? At any given point, you're looking at a certain sheet perhaps, you say, I want a new sheet, and think of it as inserting a column, or in a similar vein, I want a new sheet to the left of this, Shift F11. There we go. You might also notice if you are viewing the last sheet names here, there's an indicator after the very last sheet name. If you point to it, it'll say Insert Worksheet, Shift F11. Now, if you happen to click this, it'll put a new sheet after the last one. But you can use Shift F11 in other situations. Again, here, this will put a new sheet to the left of the current worksheet. So a variety of techniques here for moving through the various sheets of a workbook and also controlling the creation of new ones.